We have reached the state championship round of the Kentucky High School Football Playoffs, and the Raceland Rams are in the 2023 1A state championship game. We're going to talk about Raceland's matchup with Pikeville here on today's Kool TV Football Playoff Show. I'm Ben Spicer, joined by Spencer Hutchison and James Collier. Guys, we've made it to the biggest stage of the year, and our local team, the Raceland Rams, are still in it, and they have, frankly, a good shot at coming home with their first state championship this season, I think, guys.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's the thing to look at it is, and we said this at the beginning of the season when we broke everything down. If it was anybody besides Raceland and Pikeville on the carpet in December playing for a state championship, it was a travesty. The RPI did everything it possibly could to try to strip that away from happening, but yet the cream rises to the crop. You take the sixth ranked team in the RPI, goes to the number one team and just absolutely wipes the face of the earth with them, and then you put the third ranked team at the second ranked team, and they come away with a nice win too. We talk about numbers, and sometimes those numbers take care of themselves on the field between the white lines. And I know I talked with Coach Sammons after the game, and he said, I know you guys always try to get me to talk about that RPI stuff. He said, but the real numbers happen between the white lines at 7:30 on Friday night. But, the ultimate goal for every team in the state in Class Single A football is to be playing at high noon on Friday, December the 1st. And Raceland and Pikeville are going to line it up again and try for a good one.
Spencer, I know you had some thoughts that you wanted to share with us. We'll start off the show on a good note here. Get everyone riled up a little bit. I know you had some thoughts you wanted to share on the RPI.
Well, it's just, driving 3 hours, that's not like a real big deal. It wasn't a bad trip. It was just, you're on 64 the whole time. But it's a trip you shouldn't have to take. When I was driving down through there, I was like, this could be a pretty good game. That, KCD's 11-2, and then I remembered who they lost to, and then I remember who they beat. It's just a real shame. And no, I'm not knocking anybody at KCD. I don't mean it deliberately, but that was not a good team that Raceland played Friday night. I know that they have their best players out, but to have them ahead of Raceland in the RPI, and Raceland people know it. Hell, we was all there. We saw the same team play against Raceland. That was not a very good football team, and I think they'd all probably agree with me. What happened was you saw Raceland go to Louisville and literally chew up and spit out the number one team in the RPI right on the feet of the Kentucky High School Athletic Association and say, hey, there's your RPI. That game was never close, never in doubt, and truthfully, Raceland probably didn't play their best game.
Yeah.
They had a couple turnovers, fumbles, different things that are uncharacteristic for them. The score doesn't indicate, that should tell you even more. Raceland probably didn't play their best game. James, they probably didn't play their best game, and they still won by 30.
Nah. Yeah, I think after you got through that first quarter, Raceland really settled in, and there was a moment there when when Noah broke that big touchdown and got in the end zone, and the ball came out at the end. And even I talked with Mike, and he said after the game, he said they never really made a definitive ruling of whether he got into the end zone or if the ball came out and they recovered it in the end zone. Either way, it went down for 6 for the Rams. But before they kick the extra point, he burns a timeout, and he pulls the team together, and he says, this is ridiculous. Let's clean it up. Yeah. And from that point forward, I think you saw the laser focus of what they were doing. I talked with Matt Jones, the head coach for KCD, after the game, and I said it was very clear you guys were going to try to take away the running attack. And he said, yeah. He said, when you take away what a team does best and they go to the other side and they continue to do what they want to do, that's why they're playing for a state championship. Logan Lundy threw for 276 yards. It was the most he's thrown since the playoff win last year against Nicholas County. I think the passing attack might have looked a little unorthodox at times early. They've not had to do it much this year. Let's be honest. They've really put games away early. The last time that they've really had to probably use the passing attack in that atmosphere was when they played that LCA game there at the end of the season. So, very efficient through the passing game. They only threw it 6 times last week and then went over Sayre, and probably 4 times more than they really needed to. They got a really nice game out of Isaac Browning. He put it on the turf there in that quarter in the first, and they went right back to him. And you could watch him. And Mike even talked about this after the game. You could really see him. He had both hands wrapped around that football, and there was nothing else that was going to take that thing away. So, it's going to be a war of attrition on Friday. It's going to be which team can value the possession of the football and which team can run and stop the run. There's no secret to that. Both teams have playmakers. Both teams can do big things on both sides of the football. But it's like what Spencer said. You cannot have a sloppy first quarter and come out of there expect to be a state champion.
Well, I think that I go back to my statement. I thought about that all weekend. Is that a fair statement? Because, James, you followed them all year. And, I've kind of been in 3A ball. I'm not saying Raceland can't compete with it, but it's different. It's just different. And maybe – I don't know. Maybe, that's the first time I got to see Raceland all year. Maybe they think they played a good game. I'm sure if you ask Coach Mike Sammons, he probably would say, hey, we got some things we got to clean up. But if Raceland comes out and fumbles twice against Pikeville, I'm not saying they'll lose that game because I think Raceland probably favored. But it won't be 38-6. I can promise you that. So, interesting. That was just interesting. I was expecting guns blazing. Raceland's going to come out here and punch him in the face, man. Well, that's all I've heard all season is how good they are.
Well, now wait a minute. I gotta give my boy Noah Wallace some love here because he came out guns blazing when he forced that first fumble because he took that kid headed to Southern Illinois about sawed him in half.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's not because Raceland didn't have the talent, but it's almost as like they came out flat. It's almost like it took them a while. It took them a while to get off the bus, but like you said, once they got going, and then they really kind of flexed their muscles. You can't do that Friday. You got to hit the ground running. You want to build a lead. And
here's the thing: Friday's a different element because they traveled on Friday, so you got that long bus ride from Raceland down there that you're on the Yellow Dog. They're going down on Thursday, so you're in the hotel. You get a chance to get in a routine. They get into the stadium at 10. Game starts at noon. So I don't know that I would say it was flat, but it was different elements. It was cold. There was no difference about it. But, you can't make excuses or try to battle through the element. You've got to just go out and perform. And I think at the end of the day, when you go back, I think one of the numbers that jumped off so much in that football game, Raceland was 12 of 15 on third down conversions.
You know why
Brody Austin
did
not allow a third down conversion against KCD. They did not convert on third down.
I saw that. And that's what I was getting ready to say. Raceland's defensive front seven is the best part of their team. So underrated. No one's talked about it. A couple of times they almost took the handoff. They got a couple kids up there as a core, James, that I've seen on all 3A, all the teams I've watched this year. Now, Isaac Messer is the best defensive lineman I have seen. But as a core group, Raceland's got the best defensive line I've seen this year.
And here's something I've said all year. Now, I've raved all year long about the linebacking core, and there's no doubt that linebacking core can stand toe-to-toe with anybody that is out there. You've got Jackson Heighton and Braden Webb on the inside, Cam Bell and Ty Tyson on the outside. And the thing you get with those two outside guys with Bell and Tyson are they're sprinters. They run track for Raceland. And you can really see they can get to the flats, they can cover in space, but they can also they can put edge rushers in as well. But you bring up a great point there. Off that front line, you've got Chase Carell who flipped over from the offensive line to the defensive line. And it was not willingly. He was not happy about that move early in the season. But now you watch him fly around, and it's a competition every single game between he and Lyndon Sammons. And Sammons came on late last year, and he's such a soft-spoken kid. He doesn't say a lot in the hallways. He's just about his business, and that's the way he plays football. But, Chase, he's the guy that likes to be rowdy. He likes to get things fired up and everything. And then you mix in EJ, Elias Jackson off the edge there that's worked in as well. And a name that we've got to toss in that linebacking core because he fielded so well when Braden was out is Logan Lockwood. He was the guy that stepped in. And when I talked with Coach Sammons when Braden returned, and he said, he gave us a good problem to have. We don't want to take him off the field because we feel like he gives us a lot of options. But that front seven, what it has done from week one until now, has been remarkable. But as bad as I have beaten up on that secondary all year long with Raceland, it's been well documented. I got to give those guys some love because Parker Fannin, Parker Eisen, Bryson Rousey, Brody Austin, Noah Wallace, those guys in the back end over the last couple of weeks, they've had two really good quarterbacks, one that's a D1 commit, another one that'll probably end up somewhere in D1 in the Pennington kid, two quality receivers, and they've stood toe-to-toe by delivering punishing blows. And as Coach Sammons has talked about, those arms get a little shorter when you start going across the middle and you get that big pop coming. So I think Raceland from week 1 until week 15, they've made a step forward. And you have to go back and think, how much did the Highlands game help? How much did that game against LCA help to get you to this point of the season where you are?
Well, you know what? I will say this. I'm glad you mentioned Brody Austin and you mentioned Noah Walls, because actually they were at this house eating my chili the other day. And
he ate a lot of it too.
Oh, they ate 4 bowls of it and 5 or 6 peanut butter sandwiches. So hopefully that gave them the energy to get enough energy to get past KCD. I was hoping for that. And I actually went up to Noah after the game. I said, it was a chili. It was a chili that did that. And he goes, I did feel stronger during the game. So yeah, maybe it was, who knows? Maybe I'll have to make another pot of chili this week. Who knows? We'll see. If they lose, it's because he didn't have any. That's what I'll always
well, you better feed him chili.
Yeah, you got to start the tradition now. You set yourself up there.
Yeah. Now, where did you guys eat at on the way down or the way back? Do you need anywhere special?
No, I didn't.
I ate somewhere that's unfamiliar to most people in this area, the world famous Chick-fil-A. I didn't get to go anywhere special.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
So, I actually had to stop at Lowe's and get some batteries and stuff for our buddy heater. So there's just so happened to be a Chick-fil-A right there. I can't remember if we stopped in Frankfort or Shelbyville or something. I'm not sure, but really wanted to stop somewhere else. But for some reason, I had like a timer going off. I don't know why this is. We got there and probably one of the first people there. For some reason, I don't know. I always get there early and I end up having to sit in my car for like an hour before I can walk in, because it's like, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you guys know what I mean. You get there early and you're just like, well, at least I'm here, because you want to give yourself a buffer in case, something goes wrong. You got that hour that you can, kind of figure things out. So, but you always end up getting there early. But it wasn't a bad trip at all. No, not a bad trip.
I'm usually late for everything, but I'm like you. I always get to the game at like 6. That gives me plenty of time to get all the pregame stuff and do everything with that. But we'll be going to Lexington this week. That's where Raceland was last year as well. They fell to Pikeville. They'll get the chance to have a rematch with the Panthers. Looking back to last year's game, Spencer, I'm not sure if you went or not. James, obviously you were announcing the game. It seems like there were 2 or 3 of those momentum-changing plays that Raceland could have easily avoided or, done differently that ended up costing them. Do you think they maybe learned from those mistakes from last year? And, do you think they'll be better off this year and will be able to take better care of the ball at Kroger Field?
Three plays in that first half that really determined the way that game played out. The first play from scrimmage, Blake Birchfield goes 85 yards on a handoff for 6. Raceland puts it on the turf. Pikeville gets a scoop and score, and they get it from there. So, I think it was 14 to 3 at the time, because Raceland had to settle for a field goal after a holding penalty negated a first down, and they had to go for 3 instead of being first down and 10 inside the 20, which would have cut it to a 1-score game had they punched it in. But on the backside of it, then you get the Hail Mary there to end the half that not only gave Pikeville another touchdown, but that was also the play that Parker Fannin injured his elbow on. So you lost your primary receiver, another guy on the back end of the defense and stuff. Plus, you were without one of your leading corners in Jules Farrow, who did not play in that football game last year. So, you don't go back and point at different things, but there's 3 plays that I think anybody would say, no matter which side of the football you were on, Pikeville or Raceland, you can look at those 3 plays and just say those had monumental outcomes of the way that game played out because of the way that 2 of those ended up and resulting in touchdowns.
I actually watched that game, and I'll just be completely honest with you. And people can disagree with me. They can cuss me. They can do whatever they want to. This is true. If Pikeville and Raceland played 10 or 50 times, last year, Pikeville beat them 50 times. Pikeville was just a different animal last year. We seen them beat top 5 6A teams last year. But that, I thought Raceland played pretty well at state. Did they make some mistakes? Yeah, but Pikeville did that to everybody they played. Every single team they played, they did the exact same thing. I mean, we seen them go down and put a running clock on LCA last year. I mean, they were a good team, man. But this is not, and I think Raceland is closer to the talent they had last year than Pikeville. I'm not saying this is not a good Pikeville team, but they lost guys like Blake Birchfield, who, could have been an all-state player. They lost several linemen. They lost a couple of defensive players. This is not the same Pikeville team that beat the Rams to death last year at Kroger Field. Raceland, they were extremely good last year. Pikeville was just historically good last year. They would have won 2A and maybe 3A. Seriously, they were just a different animal. It was no fault of anybody's. It was just that's the way it was last year. Pikeville just was just different animal. Nah, I don't know. There could have been some plays that could have made that game closer, but I don't think in any situation does Raceland win that game last year.
Yeah, you see Pikeville's 2022 schedule there. They started 0-2, fell to Corbin and Covington Catholic. Obviously, those are two perennial powers. But from there, pretty much destroyed everyone, including Raceland in last year's state championship game. As you noted, this year's Pikeville team is a little different, and Raceland has already knocked them off once this year on the road at Pikeville. James, you were at that game. Break it down for us. What did you see in that, and do you think we could maybe see a repeat of that on Friday, or will it be more of an offensive battle?
Well, the crazy thing of that is every bit of the points happened within about the first 6 minutes of the football game. Pikeville hit a home run ball and got over top of Raceland secondary. They had an extra point block that made it 6-0. Rams go right down the field. They punch it in, get the extra point, 7-6. And we're like, okay, we're locked in for a shootout. And then neither team got in the end zone. It was crazy how it happened. Raceland got backed up into its own end zone on third and long through a halfback pass that went for 82 yards. And then they fumbled the football on the back end of it. So Pikeville got the ball back. They fumbled it right back to Raceland. So then the Rams, they give it back to Pikeville. They went 90-plus yards, had it 4th and goal from inside the 1, and the Rams stuffed them. And that was, for the ball game, basically. So, it was a very odd feeling game. It was early in the season. Both teams are trying to figure some things out. Pikeville had come off of that big loss to LCA. They were without their leading rusher, Brendan Anthony, who did not play in that football game. So, I don't take a lot of stake into what happened in that game. One, because it was so long ago, and two, there's so many different things that have changed since that time when they played. But I don't think we're going to see another defensive slugfest in this one. I think you're going to have your offensive playmakers are going to get out and make some plays. I think it's probably going to take somewhere between 21 and 24 points to win this football game.
I think are we doing prediction time right now? Are we doing this thing?
Oh, no, we're just teasing right now.
You're doing it right now?
Yeah, we got to tease it a little bit. We'll look real quick at Pikeville's stats from the win over Campbellsville, 28-21. By the way, Campbellsville, to me, guys, put up a heck of a fight in that contest. Brendan Anthony, though, the difference, 26 carries, 248 yards, 3 touchdowns. James, we were talking before we went on, you and Spencer and I, and obviously Raceland, I think the biggest key for them is knowing where 35 is at all times and attempting to slow him down, but he's special.
Well, and here's the thing with him is that you can let him go get his 200 yards, but they have to be between the 20s. You can't let him go in and go cash in 4 or 5 touchdowns because he breaks a big one, or you get him down inside the 20 and then it's just a bowling ball that just rolls downhill and just boom, boom, boom. And I think that you look at what Campbellsville did, they limit him. He gets over almost 250 yards, but they held him to 3 touchdowns. So, is it still a great game? Absolutely. His last 2 games, he's gone over 200. But on the backside of that, what has that defense been like to be able to slow him down? And that's the thing is that Raceland has not faced him this year. So, they're really going to have to break things down. What does he like to do? And you can't go to sleep on Isaac Duty, their quarterback. He's a guy that he can sit back there and he can throw the ball 7 times. And he can be perfectly content with that. The problem of it is 7 of those passes are probably going to be 6 completions and 150 yards. So, they've got playmakers. The Boykins kid is a kid that they're going to try to get in space. He's more of an east-west kind of guy rather than a north-south. But the Anthony kid, he's going to touch the football probably 25, 30 times. And when he does, he's going to look for contact on every single play.
Spencer, how do you feel Raceland matches up? Obviously they didn't get the chance to see him in their first matchup, but now that's going to be the guy they're focused in on and trying to slow down.
Well, I think that both teams have grown a lot, especially when you talk about Raceland since that week 1. Since that first matchup, this was early in the season. But one thing that you need to remember about this, regardless who set out for either team, The game was in Pikeville. That means something. Raceland went down there and won. You know how hard it was for those kids to get your brains beat in for how many years by that team and go down there to their field and win? Oh, that was a big deal. Now they're confident. They think they can go to Kroger Field on a neutral field and beat them, maybe worse. Who cares who was out? The facts are that, they beat a team that had a P on their helmet, Pikeville across their chest, and their names on the back. They did it. Nobody can take it away from them. So I think the matchups favor Raceland. I think that especially when I go back to that front seven for Raceland, and you would think that Jackson Heighton with his what do they call it, the handoff marvel? What has he got there? That club
gauntlet.
You would think you would think that this would slow him down. No, it comes a kind of a block shedder tool he's got there, a prior. I mean, it doesn't even affect him. Actually, I think it hurt his balance a couple of times when he was trying to get up, and they called him for one time for a late hit, but he wasn't trying to lay hit anybody. He just fell over because he couldn't catch himself because his hand was locked up. So no, I think the matchups favor Raceland, and I'll go ahead and say it. You better have those fire trucks full of gas because it's going to be a long trip down the AA when you're bringing back the state champs. I mean, the Industrial Parkway.
So 1957 was the last time that Raceland had won in Pikeville.
Wow.
And they have only beaten Pikeville in back-to-back games twice. And they were separated by 4 years, 2013 to 2017. This will be the 18th all-time meeting, and Raceland only has 6 wins against them. So, this is something that, it's kind of the 3 is going to be the number here, okay? Is it going to be the third time the charm for a three-peat for Pikeville, or is it going to be the third time's the charm for the Rams to finally get their first state championship in 98 years? You've got a storybook ending for either one of these. That's where we are.
Ben, I'm going to pick the game. I don't care what the schedule is. I'm going to do it. James got me fired up.
All right, well, go ahead, man. I was going to tease it a little more.
I ran through this wall behind me. James got me fired up.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
I think Raceland wins, man. I think that they don't only win by – I think they win by a couple scores. I think they have the confidence now, and I thought they were the better team when they played the first time. I thought they have the better roster. I thought, and they're going to show this down in Pikeville. Oh, this guy, here's your motivation, guys. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but hey – send me the Lions. I think Raceland's a better team. I think they show it at Kroger Field, and they will march back to find and we're going to have to find ring sizes for these kids and coaches. Give me Raceland by 2 scores over Pikeville at Kroger Field.
All right, James. How do you follow that up?
Well, I don't know that I'm going to be talking about ring sizes just yet, but I think that you've got to be talking about the confident factor of going into this game, and I think Spencer hit a lot. Last year's Pikeville team was just phenomenal. There's nobody that's ever going to doubt what those guys had. They were loaded for bear from top to finish, both sides of the football. This year, are they down, from compared to last year? Yeah, they are. Did Raceland drop from last year at the beginning of the season? Yeah, absolutely. Look at how many playmakers you had to replace on the offensive side of the football. You had one guy offensively that had caught a varsity pass the entire season last year. That return. We got 2 different teams we're looking at now. And I think this is going to be a war of attrition. It's going to be between the trenches. I'm going to take the Rams to win it on the final drive of the game to win this one by a touchdown and march it back to Raceland with a championship.
I love that. I'd love that.
Now, listen, I'm going to say, too, that's me being selfish as a broadcaster and, calling the epic championship on the final drive. I think it would be phenomenal. So,
if it gets like that, you need to get your cell phone out and record that. Put that voice recorder down. That way you can post it later. Oh, no, you'll have the YouTube stream, I'm sure. We'll
have the YouTube stream, so we'll have it out there.
No, Raceland, 2 scores better than Pikeville. Wait and see. I guarantee it. Wait and see. I'm telling you. Pikeville's going to march in there and go, oh, this is our time. This is our town. We've owned 1A, which is true. But Raceland does not care about that. They already went down there and beat you once. Now they're going to play on a neutral field, and you know what? From what I've seen so far, I know Pikeville travels very well. This is going to be a true neutral game as far as how many fans are going to be there because Pikeville's fans travel very well also. So I'm going to go with a team that I think is better and a team that comes to media day. Raceland, baby. They're going to go down there and whip bad. Not bad, sorry. 2 scores, double digits. Raceland at Kroger Field.
Here's the thing, too, that I think that's huge for the outcome of this game. Whichever team can get it in the end zone first, that sets the tone. And if Raceland can score first to get those maybe those bugs out of the way, or those empty thoughts of the two previous state championships that they've gone to, that things have really gone sour really, really quickly. They played two juggernauts both times they played in the state championship.
Yeah.
Beechwood in their first time, and then Pikeville last year. They're not playing a juggernaut this year.
No.
They're playing someone that I think that the balance is there on both sides of the football, but go down and put points on the board first. Make Pikeville have to play from behind. I think that's big for the Rams to come out with a championship.
Well, you guys know I'm picking Raceland too. I like James. I like your theory selfishly too, as the guy that's going to be there shooting some highlights. I would love to see a game-winning drive. I think that
Raceland
awesome.
Seniors, you got one more game, 4 quarters that you'll remember for the rest of your life. You don't think so? I lost in a state championship game, and I still, anytime this time of the year comes around, I remember, what it's like to lose those games. And of course, most of this team knows that too. So, 4 quarters, 1 game left for the rest of your life. Something you'll tell your grandkids about one day. Make it count.
Make sure you guys stay locked into the Kool TV YouTube channel, Kool Hits Sports, and all of our social medias. We'll have coverage throughout the week. Like and subscribe for Spencer and James. I'm Ben. Thanks for watching another edition of the Kool TV Football Playoff Show.